I am talking to Rockport's town clerk, Pat Brown, and the assistant town clerk, Melanie Waddell. Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hi. So some people are confused about how to vote in the general election and how safe it is to vote. So can you help us understand the state guidelines and talk to us specifically about voting in Rockport?
Well, Rockport, I feel, is one of the safest places to cast your ballot because I can assure you that we're going to keep it safe and we're going to count it on election day. The state, because of COVID, has come up with a number of ways in which voters can vote and not be subjected to other people by voting by mail. And we have now got early voting. So instead of what used to be absentee voting, where you had to be legitimately away or sick or unable to get to the polls, now they're saying, oh, you don't need to be sick. You don't need to be away from your home. You can now just vote early. So early voting and absentee voting have become one. They're basically the same thing. The difference being, if you vote absentee, you must return your ballot because you've said to us, I'm not going to be here or I'm not going to be able to get to the polls. If you vote early, you do not have to return your ballot. You don't have to vote by mail. You can simply come in and vote early and cast your ballot in person, whether that be during the early voting period of October 17th to October 30th, or Election Day, which is November 3rd.
Excuse me, Pat, can I just interrupt for 1 second? I want to clarify. So absentee voting is the same as mail-in voting, and that means you have to submit your ballot either in the mailbox, the U.S. postal system, or the slot you have behind town hall. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Absentee, you have to mail it back or put it in the slot at town hall.
Right. Then the other is walk-in, early voting. You show up, you go to town hall, you stand there, and the town clerk, either Melanie or someone, runs you through voting, right?
That's correct. And if you have a ballot and you received an early ballot, you can bring it to town hall. You cannot bring it to the polls because when you bring it to town hall, we need to check it in. We need to put it in the system so that we know that you have voted. So that way you're unable to vote twice. So once we receive your ballot, it immediately goes into the system. It's checked off that you have voted. And then if you tried to vote again, it would be in the system and you would be turned away.
Just going to say we will have a new ballot box for the general election as well. That's going to be located off the main resident parking lot. I know a lot of people were challenged with the mailbox slot and the backdoor vestibule. So we got a bright, shiny blue ballot box that will be out in the more accessible as well for everybody.
Let's talk about early walk-in voting.
Okay.
All right. So where is it and how does one do that?
Okay. All you need to do is come to town hall during normal operating hours. Now that would be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 to 4, Tuesday, 8 to 6, Friday, 8 to 1. And then we will also be open Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 2. Now again, those are the hours of October 17th through October 30th. So you arrive at the handicapped entrance of town hall and you might have to wait because it's a small area. We're only allowing one person in at a time. You will be safely distanced 6 feet apart. If you come with a partner, certainly you can both come in and vote at the same time. But if you come as an individual, you will wait until there is no one voting. Then you will step forward, give your name and address, and we will allow you to vote. Once you vote, you're going to leave, and we will then wipe down anything that you have touched, sanitize everything that's been there, and then the next person will come in. So you must understand you might have to wait, but everybody will be safe and you will require a mask to come in and vote.
Now that all went pretty well during the state primary election, right? Which was just a few weeks ago.
It went very well. We basically, the state primary was proving ground for how well things worked, and everything worked. Everything was 100%. I think everybody voting felt safe, and everybody voting early felt safe. So we will be opening ballots the day of election and counting them right at the polls. And if anybody wants to see the process, it's open to anyone who wants to observe, right from opening the polls at 6:30 in the morning when we're getting the machines ready until the close of polls at 8 o'clock at night. You're free to be there. You're free to watch what we do. And it's certainly open to the public. The other thing is political candidates are allowed to have observers at the polls, so long as they sit quietly and do as the warden tells them and stay in the area where the warden tells them to stay. There is no one else to be at the polls. If anybody, there have been rumors about sheriffs and county people being there to watch who's coming to vote and paying attention to who's voting and names and address. I can assure you there will be no one there who will be listening for your name and address to intimidate you in any way.
Great to know. So now let's move on to election day. So people may have voted by mail, they may have done walk-in early voting, and they can still vote on election day. And presumably the numbers are much lower because people have had so many other options for voting. So it's a safer experience. Do you want to talk about that?
And so long as everything works 100%, you'll find there'll be no lines at all. I've never seen them more than just maybe 5 or 6 feet. Sometimes at the opening at 7 o'clock, people on their way to work, we have a little bit of a line there, but otherwise you'll find you will not wait for more than 5 or 10 minutes in Rockport to vote on election day.
I'd like to share the new option that the Secretary of State has given. It actually was in place for the primary, to track your ballot. You can go on the Secretary of State's website, or you can Google Track My Ballot Massachusetts. And you can go into this portal that they've created and enter your, your name, your first name, your last name, your address. If you have, if you've voted in the primary, it will show you that you requested your ballot, that you, that we mailed it to you, that it was received by us. If you've requested one for November, under the November 3rd line, it will say pending until we are ready to mail out ballots, which I don't know that we've gotten there. We expect to have all the materials by October 9th from the state. So it will be pending until we mail it. And then you'll see a date that it was mailed by us. And then after you've mailed it back to us, it will show you the date that it was received by us, where we keep it and hold it until election day for it to be voted. So it's a long, complicated web address, but if you Google Track My Ballot Massachusetts, it will bring you to the Secretary of State's website. And it's a really fun tool, I think, because it's in your hands. You have control of knowing where your ballot is and that we've received it, or that it's on its way.
Yeah, that's great.
You can also check on the website whether or not you're registered to vote. And people have had questions as to whether or not they're registered to vote. And again, it's just the Secretary of State, Massachusetts. If you even Google that, you'll find all kinds of tools for voters to view there, including registration online. You can register right then and there. You do need to register 2 weeks prior to the election day. So if you are not registered to vote, please do so by, what's the date of registration? October?
The very last day to register is October 24th.
October 24th.
And we'll have in-person registration at the Town Hall Annex between 2 and 4 p.m. and 7 and 8 p.m.
Yeah, at the Town Hall Annex, you'll be able to register right there, or again, just register online.
And we also have voter registration forms in the back door, vestibule of Town Hall, and there's vote by mail applications there as well, if anybody needs an actual paper copy.
And I do want to emphasize, you mentioned this, Melanie, but the ballots have not been printed yet, right?
They should be being printed probably as we're speaking by the state, but we're waiting for them to either finish printing and get to us. But they said October 9th was the latest that we should have all the materials, and it could take up to a week. I mean, I think we're looking somewhere around 3,000 ballots for the two of us to be mailing out. So,
You have to understand there's 352 cities and towns in Massachusetts. And those 352 towns all have a different ballot. They all have their name, and the clerk or the city clerk name is printed on them. So every single ballot in every city and town is different. So the state will get them to the cities and towns as they are completed. They will ship them out. So some cities and towns will get them earlier than others and be voting earlier than others. But all we can do is wait. And once they're ready, they come to us directly from the state, and we then get on top of it and get it right out.
Well, that actually clears up a lot of confusion, Pat. Thanks for mentioning that, because I think some people will hear that, well, my uncle in, Worcester is voting already. Why am I not? Why have I not received my ballot? So that clears up a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, we ask the Rockport Post Office to keep the ballots here. So normally mail would go to Boston and then be distributed there through various places and come back to Rockport. But here we're asking the postmaster to keep the ballots that are in Rockport, and they go directly out the next day. So that way you can be assured that your ballot isn't going to be going all the way to Boston and all the way back. It's just staying right here.
Well, thank you again. And we may have to come back to you and check on how the election all went. That would be a fun conversation too.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll be happy to talk to anybody. And remember, if you have any questions, we're always open to questions in town hall, especially in the clerk's office. Give us a call.